This podcast is brought to you by Voice and Vision, bringing help, hope, and healing to individuals, families, and communities affected by mental illness, addictions, and disabilities in southeastern Pennsylvania.
Welcome to Untold Valor, a podcast with a unique focus on veterans, featuring stories of courage, recovery, perseverance, and strength. Listen to hear veterans share their perspectives on what it's like to battle mental health challenges, combat addictions, and overcome other adversities unique to those who have served.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the podcast here on Untold Valor, where we talk with all sorts of great people and share great resources and information. And we're looking forward to our conversation today with Shaun Hall of the Veterans Breakfast Club. So we're going to learn about Shaun and what he does and what the Veterans Breakfast Club is. So Shaun, welcome in. How are you?
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And of course, Reverend Ben's here. My friend, how are you this week?
I'm doing fantastic. Glad to be on board.
Yes, sir. So, Shaun, let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about you, first of all, and just kind of so we get to know you. And then what is the Veterans Breakfast Club and what's it all about?
Sure. Yeah. Again, thank you for having me on. And my name is Shaun Hall. I'm Director of Programming with the Veterans Breakfast Club. We're a nonprofit. We're based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We've been around since 2008 and mostly just doing in-person breakfasts around the Pittsburgh region from that time. It started as our executive director, Todd DePastino. He's a historian. He wrote a really famous book about Bill Maudlin, the famous World War II cartoonist.
Oh, okay.
And, and he started going around and shopping it, just like talking about it to World War II groups. And as you can imagine, back in 2008, there were probably a bit more World War II veterans than we have today. But he was having so much fun and learning so much, and they decided that they would keep meeting. And then it sort of blossomed into the Veterans Breakfast Club. It became about more than just World War II veterans. It became about all veterans from all eras, all branches. And as I said, it was mostly in-person breakfast. We would be doing 75 breakfasts or more per year just in the Pittsburgh region. And I think Pittsburgh is probably top 5 in concentration of veteran population. So we had a lot of people to bring to the breakfasts. So that was sort of the start of VBC. Myself, I have a background in acting. I know, jaws on the floor. What? I'm not a veteran, and neither is Todd. And actually, neither of us are veterans. We're just very curious about veterans and their stories. And we love storytelling. We both have a passion for it, and absolutely a passion for veteran stories specifically.
That's awesome.
I started out in the acting world. I eventually switched over and worked for a theater in the nonprofit sector for 10 years. And as the pandemic hit, that became kind of a turning point in the theater world. And I was sort of looking for maybe the next challenge. I had heard about VBC because the theater I was working for, we were producing A Few Good Men. And it was my job.
Awesome,
I was director of education and community engagement at that point. And they said, hey, go check out the veteran space. We'd love to get some veterans in to see this show. And so I started researching and Googling like veteran groups in Pittsburgh, and VBC popped up. So I started attending.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because it was my first time sitting in a room full of veterans, and I kind of went in and was very shy and just sort of sat off to the side and just sort of observed and listened. And my jaw also was on the floor. I was like, this is amazing. And Todd ran such a great program that I just kept coming back. And we're talking, it wasn't just like 10, 15 people. We're talking 100, 150 people sitting around listening to each other tell stories. And Todd, being as curious and engaging as he is, he'd go around and ask about anything. It wasn't about veterans that have been on the front line specifically. We're only talking about that. No, we're talking about every veteran, no matter what the job. I was fascinated by it. And like I said, I kept coming back. And then as that sort of shift happened, I kind of just approached Todd and was like, do you have a job? Because I'd really like to do this. The stars aligned. And he was like, you know what? I was just thinking about that this morning. And yes, I do. And so we went through the process of interviews, and I went and met the board, and he actually had me like sort of audition in a way. He was like, okay, well, why don't you run a program and let's see how that goes. And boy, looking back to that first one, I'm now 5 years in this role, and I look back to that first interview that I did, and I was like, boy, I had no clue what to ask a veteran. I had no clue what to say. I was asking, a JAG if he had ever been in combat. It's just sort of like very green, very,
you gotta
as
learn.
we call.
Yeah.
Yeah, like very noob questions of just like
They're looking at you like a little straight. What? Yeah.
yeah, who is this guy? But as I got to learn the veteran population, I got to learn about military civilian divide. I got to learn about, hey, I can ask a dumb question, but the veterans who would like to talk about their service, who would like to educate civilians about what they've been through, are more than happy to answer whatever questions. And I'll say, yeah, I'm going to ask a dumb question. And like, there's no dumb questions. I'm like, well, you haven't met me yet. Um,
That's
but
fantastic.
yeah, and it worked out great. It's been such a wonderful ride. I've learned so much over the last 5 years, including, how to have a very heart-to-heart conversation with the veteran about their service, what it means to them, what they've been through, how that little blip, maybe, months or years of their life has really impacted the rest of their life. I've picked up so much along the way. And so to also say about the pandemic, we were mostly in-person breakfast, and then the pandemic happened. What do? You couldn't get together. Everything was shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So Todd very expertly pivoted us into the online space. So we started doing online. That was pretty much right around the time I started. And we started just doing meeting on Zoom because we were like, well, we need a way for the veterans to be able to get together. And seems to be a great way of continuing the storytelling.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, we everyone learned to adapt a little bit through that period for sure. I'm checking out the website. I'm assuming I've got the right one here, veteransbreakfastclub.org.
That's correct.
And there's a line right here that's fantastic. And Reverend Ben, I want to kick it to you when I say this because this fits right in with what you, I think, believe and do as well. It's bolded, and it says the best way to thank a veteran is to listen.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of veterans have a voice that is not heard. That's why I see the value in the Veterans Breakfast Club. Because I've been on there several times, and all I've ever felt was camaraderie and a safe space to talk about things and share experiences. And it's not always about the front line, like Shaun said. All kind of different aspects, vantage points, in different ways veterans' experience is, the military experience. Just like last night I was on, they talked about the Green Star families or the families of veterans who have gone on and how these families are recognized and treated and honored, which is a topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's something that needs to be spoken about because it's a population out there that exists that we don't want it to disappear and be forgotten.
Indeed, for sure. Well, Shaun, talk to us a little bit about some of the events. I'm looking at the website, a lot of great information here, but talk to us about some of the things you guys do, how folks can get involved or be a part of.
Yeah, so everything really expanded once we pivoted. So now we do Monday nights on Zoom at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and that's free. Pretty much all the programs that we do are free. Anybody can attend. If you're buying breakfast at our in-person breakfast, there's a little fee for that. But if you just want to come and sit and listen to the veterans' stories, have a cup of coffee, that's totally free. If you want to come into our Zoom room and just sit and listen, ask questions, that's totally free. We do this also on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and that is our Greatest Generation Live specific program. So we really focus in on World War II specific stories. And so our Monday night program, we call it the Scuttlebutt, and it covers pretty much any military topic. We have on historians, authors, veterans. We can have on World War II veterans, just depending on the topic that we decide to go with that night. We plan these out months in advance and, approach people. We've had on everybody from the Secretary of the VA to, Kristen Hanna, who wrote The Women, which you probably heard about, a very, very famous book from last year. I think it was a big New York Times bestseller book about a woman who went to Vietnam. And we have fiction authors. We had on MP Woodward a couple weeks ago, which was great. He's the current author for Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan Jr. books, but he had a background in naval intelligence. So we spent a lot of time just diving into that. We've talked about TARPs, which seems very obscure. TARPs being a surveillance system that was placed on the bottom of F-14s during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Dove into that with some guys who worked on those systems. As Reverend Ben mentioned last night, we ended up talking about Green Star families. Matt Cahill came on. He's sort of the tip of the spear on this. He wants there to be recognition for the families of veterans who have committed suicide. So we really run the gamut. And the great thing about being on Zoom is that we expanded our footprint greatly during this time over the last several years. So we're not only just talking about Pittsburgh veterans at this point, we're talking about veterans from around the world that we've now connected with, listened to, heard stories from. We have a great gentleman from up in Canada. We always call him he's Canada's best historian. He's wonderful. He's interviewed so many World War II veterans, Canadian World War II veterans. He has a great connection list. He brings them to us, and we get to have them on our program. So it's really sort of a sharing pool. And one thing that I think I'm really proud of with VBC is that we believe that the rising waters raise all ships. So we're not in competition. We want to get the word out to veterans about the services that are there for everyone. So if you're a veteran organization and you're like, hey, I'd love to get the word out somewhere about what we do, we invite you on. You can, take the mic from us on a Monday night open conversation program and talk about what you have, what your mission is, how that you provide these services for veterans. And then we also extend beyond just like the two online programs. We still do our in-person breakfasts. We do probably about 50 a year now, and we're doing them not only in Western PA, but Eastern in Philadelphia, Eastern Ohio. We're looking to get down into like Northern West Virginia and, expand the footprint here in Pittsburgh a bit. We're going to be doing a big story fest over in California. We got connected with an organization over there. It's going to be really wonderful. We do a yearly gala at our Rivers Casino here in downtown Pittsburgh. We invite about 500 veterans show up to listen and have key speakers, and lots of VSOs are there to show support. And we have a blog. We have a weekly e-blast that we send out to everybody. And I guess that I should mention also that we have a paid membership that if you just want to come and listen, it's free. But if you want to support the mission, you can become what's called a supporting member of VBC. And that's $50 a year. And that gets you discounts on our shop and discounts at breakfast and different things.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's tough to, power all these things. So it's good that you guys have those different resources. And there's also, it looks like there's ways to sponsor if folks would like to get involved with that as well. So we'll put links to the website and the show description of the podcast this week. I really like, I'm looking through here, Shaun, and I like, did you guys often have some of the other forgotten warriors, as you're calling it? Because often we do have a lot of conversations about some of the larger, events that have happened, right? But you guys have Beirut, Grenada, Mogadishu, right? Some of these different things. And you talked about the ladies as well. So this is not just like, a guys fest. This is room for everyone.
Totally. Donut Dollies. We've had a great relationship with the Donut Dollies from Vietnam, had many of them on. We've done sort of get-togethers with them online. I think the Vietnam vets love it because they knew them back in the day. We had a really special program a couple weeks ago, which brought in a lot of new veterans to us about the Army Security Agency, the ASA. This was way bigger than we even anticipated. We sort of got the word out about it, and they joined us for their ASA birthday and had about 20 ASA vets show up. We barely got around the room to hear everybody's story, so we're like, we're doing a part 2 of this. Please continue to join us. If you've not heard about the Army Security Agency, please look it up, the ASA. We also have what's called a Veterans History Project, and this is just us pairing a veteran with maybe another veteran to sit down and do a one-on-one on Zoom, or we could come to your house if you're, in the Pittsburgh region, and we record your story. If it's something that you're like, I would really just like to get my story out there. I don't necessarily feel comfortable doing it in the group setting, but I'd love to do a one-on-one and get this out there for not only my sake, but maybe my family, just have like that piece. We can do that. We set those up. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our quarterly magazine. So we send out a free quarterly magazine that's 32 pages of veteran stories. It's a really wonderful read. It's edited by a great documentarian, Daria Summers. And Todd, our historian executive director, does a lot of the writing as well. We take a lot of the stories that we've heard on our Zoom programs and our in-person breakfasts. We put them into the magazine. And that, like I said, it's a free quarterly magazine. All we need is your address. You just send that to us, and we're happy to put you on the mailing list and get that mailed out to you wherever you are in the country.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at some stuff, folks. Again, so if you want to go check it out, it's veteransbreakfastclub.org. That's veteransbreakfastclub.org. And right there in some of the taglines you've got there yourself, valuing the experience of everybody, no matter, when you were in, where you served, the power, human beings in general, the power of storytelling clearly is profound because we've been doing it for about 100,000 years. Sharing stories of any way, shape, or form is what helps us process, connect, move forward, whatever the case might be.
Yeah, totally. That's in our mission. Connect, educate, heal, and inspire. And we aspire to that every single program. Are we educating? Are we talking about history? Are we connecting? Are we healing? Like I said, we dive into those sort of obscure pieces or the conflicts that nobody ever hears about. In a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about the Fuji fire. I think it was 1979. This was a tsunami or a typhoon that hit Japan. and it was a tragedy for the Marine Corps. It was the worst Marine Corps tragedy in peacetime.
Wow.
We're going to have on the gentleman who wrote the book, Chaz Henry, and a couple of the veterans who survived this. If it's not something you heard about, it's probably because a couple of weeks later, Iran took the hostages, and all the news cycle sort of took over that, and
Yeah.
then it was sort of swept under the rug, and we moved on. But this is something we found out about. Somebody approached us and said, "Hey, I'd love to talk about this." We found a good anniversary date for it, and we set up a program about it. So we dive into those difficult to talk about tragedies as well. We don't want to shy away from those, and we want to honor the veterans that survived these things, but also the veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, Shaun, I see that you have the different meetings set up for coming up now. The time we're probably dropping our podcast here for folks to hear this, those are going to be passed because it's actually the same day that you're having these next events on the 25th of September. But are these monthly? Are these something people can kind of get involved with in that standpoint?
Every week. So every Monday
week.
night.
Okay.
Every week, every Monday night, Thursday night. Now, if you're like, oh, I just listened to that podcast and he talked about the Fuji fire, well, just come to our website, and under, I think it's the events tab, you'll see past live streams. Go on that, and we update that the day after every single time. So you can easily just search there. We also have a YouTube channel that everything lives on. So every single program we've done lives on either one of those places, veteransbreakfastclub.org in the past events, past live stream tab, and on our YouTube channel. So you can check those out whenever they become available.
Yeah. And so, again, it's pretty easy just to go to the main website. You can kind of do everything else from there, veteransbreakfastclub.org. Shaun, I'll kind of toss it to you this way. I often wrap up the program or just kind of wind it down by saying, Ben said it earlier. There's so many resources out there, much more than there used to be, which is fantastic. But there's still sometimes either stigmas or whatever about using them or getting involved with them or whatever the case might be. What is your kind of thought, and especially someone who was outside of this world and recently been in and very, overwhelmed by it, but also very intrigued and empowered by it? What's a message you would share to other veterans or other people who either want to get involved or don't know how to get involved in helping?
Yeah. So with us specifically, I always say that it's a super welcoming group. They're very curious. They want to listen. They want other veterans to join us. And there's no pressure. That's what I love about it. I come from the theater world where our bar was set very
Everything's
high.
pressure. Yeah.
Everything's pressure. And then coming into this space, I feel like, we put on a program. If I host a program, I can feel like, oh, maybe that wasn't my best night. But then I hear from the veterans the next day and they're like, that was so powerful. That was so impactful. Thank you so much for doing this. And it was like, wow, that takes all the pressure off me. I don't have to perform. I have to provide space.
Yeah.
And that is that means the world. And so if a veteran is I really don't want to get on Zoom and have my face shown. Well, that's fine.
Don't turn your camera on. Yeah.
Don't turn your camera on. Don't turn your camera on. You could change your name to Susan, whatever you want to do. But if you just want to sit and listen, and that's as far as you want to go, perfect. That's perfectly fine by us. We might see a new name and say, "Hey, how did you hear about us?" I listened to a podcast, or I caught an email or something. That hey, this topic you're going about is perked my interest, or I worked in that field.
Yeah.
And sometimes, which is really cool, sometimes that opens up the veterans. We've seen it time and time again at our in-person breakfast, where they sit around and they listen, and maybe they're just there to listen, but then suddenly they're like, "Oh, you know what? I did do that in service. I dealt with, radio operators, or I dealt with a teletype. Oh yeah, I did some something on that." And that sort of opens up a little bit of their story. And then I feel like Todd and I are pretty adept now at being able to sort of dig a little deeper. And it doesn't mean that we have to go towards anything you don't want to talk about. It just might mean hey, I'm a civilian. I don't know anything about a teletype. You worked on it. What was that like?
Yeah.
And then that sort of opens up the door a little bit further. But again, if you just want to come and sit and listen to other veterans chat and feel like you are in a space, because as civilians, we understand that veterans have their own language and they feel more comfortable around veterans, that space is open to you. And that's what we strive to do with every single program.
Well, Shaun, thank you so much for being on here. I certainly appreciate it. Again, we're going to put links in the show description so folks can reach out to the organization and get started. Ben, any final thoughts from you, my friend?
Well, thank you for coming on, Shaun, and the efforts of the Veterans Breakfast Club, which lines up with the mission of Company Corps as well as helping the veteran any way we can. And like you said, one thing I really experienced from the Veterans Breakfast Club is that no job in the military was too small. No job was forgot. Like Shaun just said, even one of the meetings I've attended, there's something somebody may say that triggers a memory in me of back when I was in the bush. And it kind of strengthens that bond that we have as veterans. So all the efforts that the Veterans Breakfast Club has is commended by me, and it's a need for more of this in the veterans community. Shaun, thank you very much.
Couldn't be happier for the time here to get the word out. I love what you guys are doing at Untold Valor. Thank you for doing what you do. And Reverend, please feel free to join us anytime. We love having you in the room. Mark, please also, if you'd love to join in, we'd love to see you. And Ben, we need to hear more of your story. We got like a snippet of it last night, and right. I think we're thirsty for more.
There you go. For sure.
Okay, no problem. I'm with it. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the power, right? That's the power of communication and being, maybe cracking the armor just a little bit, right? As far as you're willing to go or not. So reach out to them, folks, and get started. And thanks so much for checking out the podcast. Shaun Hall was our guest. We certainly appreciate his time. We'll have, again, links in the show descriptions below. And, of course, as always, if you need help, if you're struggling, use some of those resources that we do have that we provide each and every episode so that you can get the help that you need. We thank you so much for your time here on Untold Valor. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcasting platform app you enjoy. And we'll see you next time here on the program. You've been listening to Untold Valor by Voice and Vision. We hope you found the information and resources discussed today helpful. As always, thank you for listening and for your support. Remember to stay connected with us through our various social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to visit the website, voiceandvisioninc.org. That's voiceandvisioninc.org, where you can sign up for our blog and find free resources and information on upcoming events, webinars, workshops, and get support. You can also access our free help and hope guide for individuals and families struggling with substance use and addiction. If someone you know is struggling, please reach out for help because you and your life matter. Remember, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available to you at any time by dialing 988. We are all ambassadors of hope and recovery. And if you want to share your story, please contact us. Compeer Corps is also looking for veteran mentor volunteers and veteran participants. To find out more information about Compeer Corps, please call 610-541-0790. That's 610-541-0790. You can find all the links and contact information for the resources mentioned on today's episode by checking the description and the show notes section of your app. Thank you again for tuning in and for your support. Until next time, this has been Untold Valor.